People wonder a lot about how other people make a lot of sales. You see some people say they make 6 figures, they make 7 figures in a month, in 2 months, in 7 days. And you're trying to wonder how exactly are these people doing it? Like how? Like how do they get people to pay them money for something, right? Now there are many factors involved here, but today's video is going to be on storytelling. I personally haven't made a lot of sales, but then I have implemented strategies that do work, and I have gotten results from it twice. I always have a way of creating this image in your head, right? And it has a way of like kind of targeting towards your emotions. It kind of makes you make some certain decisions. Like imagine a small child, right, a 10-year-old just finished watching Spider-Man, and the next couple of weeks he's running up and down doing, what's that they're saying, this everywhere, like, and like you're wondering what's wrong with this kid. Whatever story that you tell forms something in people's minds. It affects people's emotions and it drives them to make decisions. That's what stories do, right? Now, if your story is now about what they are feeling, what they are going through, their pains, their problems, then you would actually drive them to even listen to you, right? To listen to what you're saying. Obviously, they know that, oh yes, this person is talking about something that is relating to my pain. They're telling a story that makes it more interesting. So I'm going to sit down and listen to what they have to say. And then you will now pitch to them a solution to their problem. So basically what you're doing is using a story to sell the solution to their problem. So we're going to talk about elements of a story and how exactly can you actually tell a story to drive sale. And I'm also going to give you an example, of what happened in my own case and how I was able to get sales from storytelling, because it actually worked, but it wasn't even first hand. It was a second hand situation. First hand, I haven't been able to do that yet because I don't necessarily have the stories. You understand once I explain the elements. You have to actually have the story to tell. If you don't have that story to tell, it's going to be a little bit difficult. Now, first, I have different things that I want to sell, right? And not all of them have stories behind them. So how do you exactly create that story, without lying? That's another thing you get. So like, what happened for me was a second-hand storytelling, which I feel like is kind of first-hand because the person that did that second-hand storytelling for me actually did a storytelling to them. So it's kind of like the same thing, basically. So when you read a novel, you read a book, right? The first thing that they say in most of the books, right, is either once upon a time, they refer to a time, maybe 10 years ago, or they establish a character and then state where the character is, what the character is doing, give an introduction about the character and where the character is, right? So that's two things. You need to establish the stage and establish the character, right? So now, in case of a novel, right, the character will be the main focus of the story. Maybe the main focus of the story is a man, right? And then the stage where the story starts would be on his sofa. Do you understand? That's going to be the introduction for your story. So you start by saying, there was once a man who used to always sit on the sofa in his living room. Another element is called an emotional roller coaster. So what you're going to aim to do is to ignite the highest point of emotion and the lowest point of emotion in a person, right? The highest form of emotion is dopamine, obviously. When you're really excited, you enjoy what you're doing, you enjoy something, you're happy. It's a positive energy, but then it can be addictive, right? So you don't want to let that dopamine stay long. You want to now bring it down to, something, the emotion that depicts sadness, pain. So what you want to do is take your viewer or your listener up and down, and that's the emotional roller coaster. So you're giving them a scene that is interesting, that is happy, that is something that is successful happened to the character. The character got a job, he was promoted at work, and then suddenly his boss was mean to him, he started to get bullied, stuff like that. So that's up and down, emotional roller coaster. Then while you're taking them on this journey, there should obviously be a storyline, like a big picture, right, of the story. Now the big picture obviously is there's a character, he had a problem, and he needs to find a solution to the problem for him to get his results. That's the big picture of the storyline, right? But as you're going from stage to stage to stage to stage, right, you're taking people on an emotional roller coaster, right? So from beginning to the problem to when he realizes his problem, there could be some good and bad. So he realizes his problem. When he realizes the problem, there'll be some good and bad to getting his solution. When he now finds his solution, executing that solution, right, there'll be another good and bad, and then the final result, which is usually the end of the movie. If you use Marvel movies for a better understanding of this, right? Practical example. At the end, something good happens, right? Now, there are different cases, different ways you want to obviously write your story. It's possible for the story to end tragically, but then in this case, for relating it to business, you want to actually make it end on a good note, because obviously you want your customer to be happy at the end, right? Then you also want to give a sense of mystery. So like, don't give everything in that story, because what you're actually doing, right, is using that story to take people on a journey to somewhere. If you give what that end is at the beginning, you lose that person. What you want to do is take them along the journey to the end, and by doing that, you're going to be giving elements of mystery. So if you're going to relate it to business, you're going to be asking questions that will trigger thoughts in their head and be like, oh, so what happens? What will happen if? They start to ask questions. That is a sense of mystery, and then you get them through that all the way to the end. Matthew Lone said, people will always remember how they make you feel. They won't remember what you told them. Like, they won't remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel, right? So now, what feelings exactly do you want to imbibe in that person? What is the major feeling that you want that person to have? Do you want them to feel happy? Do you want them to feel fun? Do you want them to feel relaxed? Do you want them to feel at peace? Do you want them to feel welcome? Do you want them to feel serious? Whatever feeling that you want, right, is what will determine your storyline. How you're going to package the story, how you're going to say the words, how you're going to take them on that journey. It is really, really important, because that's what people would remember. If you go to an Apple store today, when you enter into their store and you come out, there's this feeling that you get of cleanliness, simplicity. You feel calm, you feel relaxed, and that's because of their environment in their stores. Minimalism is the core of their brand, okay? So, however it is, whatever feeling that you want your customer to have, or the person that is reading your story, right, you should be able to have make them feel a certain way, because that's what they remember. So I want to quickly explain 3 chemicals that actually depict feelings in human beings, right? I'm going to read off my notes here, because this is some chemistry stuff, and I never liked chemistry, so I'm going to read it. So yeah, dopamine gives a sense of focus, motivation, memory, instills joy, happiness, a positive chemical, but then can be addictive, right? And the way you can instill or ignite this chemical in people's minds is by giving them suspense or cliffhangers. So like, you give half of the story at this section, and then you make them wait to hear the rest of it while you talk about something else. You understand? That's dopamine, makes them excited. Okay, that's basically going to lift the emotions high. Oxytocin gives a sense of trust, generosity, bond. It's something that makes you feel connected to someone. So if someone creates empathy towards you, or if someone has empathy towards you, if someone has compassion for you, if someone cares about you, right, oxytocin is released in your body, then you feel a certain bond and trust for that person. So you want to have an element of all of this in your brand, okay? You want to be able to show care for your customers, and you also want to take them on that little journey, give them some suspense, let them wait for some certain things, in your brand. You want to launch something that's going to be this for them, going to do this for them, but you're going to tell them to hold on, wait for it, that kind of thing. Things like that will ignite the feeling of excitement. Hey, they're going to launch this, it's going to help me, that kind of stuff, right? The third one is endorphin, right? And this one just makes people laugh, right? And the way you can actually say this one is just to be funny. Now it's very straightforward. It makes people laugh, so be funny, right? So these are the 3 main chemicals that control people's emotions, right? So you want your story to have a little bit of everything, a little bit of the three, so that makes like a whole complete package. For every story, another element here is the hook. That's one thing that grabs people's attention. They're like, and then they actually now even start to listen to the first few sentences that you have to say that will now get them to listen to the whole of your story, right? That hook is basically something that you use, like it's like you're catching a fish, right? You put a feed on the hook, right, and throw it into the sea, and it catches a fish. That food that you put there, the feed, right? That's what you need, in every story that you tell, right? I'm using story now. I want you to understand it from a story perspective before getting into how you can apply it to your business. And I'm also going to give an example of someone else and give my own example, my own experience as well. You can use people's problems as a hook, right? You can use a general, will I say, a community-wide belief as a proof. That's, you basically counter a community's belief, right? Maybe there's a particular area of the world that you believe that you can't succeed. That's just their belief, and then you're like, do you know you can actually succeed? That's, you're targeting people's beliefs, so that's conflict. The one thing that Steve Jobs actually said, his hook when he was advertising the iPod, right? He said, what if you could put 1,000 songs in your pockets? The time that the iPod was released was when those days a lot of people used to listen to music on like these tapes, right? They will go to the stores and buy CDs and buy tapes. They will have to go home and put it in their boombox or music player and play the music, right? And then he said, what if you can put 1,000 songs in your pockets? Imagine 1,000 discs in your pockets. That one already has giving people to think about something like how is this man going to give me something that will give me 1,000 songs in my pockets? And then they all started to listen, so they were hooked. Now all of them in that time, right, interested in listening to music. Good. So their problem basically was having to always go to the store to buy CDs. In their houses, they don't have stacks of CDs everywhere. That was their problem, right? And then Steve Jobs went through the route of giving them the solution, right? And saying that, do you know you can actually have that solution? Okay? That's a way to also hook your audience. Or your viewer, basically, person listening to your story. Right. Then after hooking them, then you make a promise. So you're like, oh, do you know you can have 1,000 pictures, 1,000 songs in your pockets, right? And then tell them that what you're about to receive, what you're about to watch, what you're about to have, that's the product, is going to change your life. Or that product is going to give you revenue of this in so months. That product is going to generate your account statements for you. That product is going to make you to stand out in a fashion show. That product is whatever that product is gonna do. The result of that product, you give that as a promise, and then they are hooked. But then you must give a promise that you can actually fulfill. Don't lie. Give a promise that you can actually fulfill. That's why you should always know your product well and know what your product value is. It's from that value standpoint that you would give that promise. So then after that, you tell them how that product is now going to give them what you promised, which is what they need, right? Because in their mind already, they're already asking how are you telling me I can succeed? I want to know. So then you will now tell them as once you have successfully hooked them. Okay, so that's the application to a business, right? Now when you are doing all of that, you make sure that you are doing it from a story standpoint. Don't just sit down and start narrating features of the app or something like that, of an app, something like that. You get. So this guy, he has a charity organization, and what he wants to do, what he wants to achieve is to get water to people who do not have water, right? Now, in order for him to be able to do that, he needs people to donate their money to the charity organization. So what he did was he actually gave a story of how he got the idea, He said he was in a room with his friends, and then his friends actually told him the story of this particular village in Africa, right? So like this village, they are women, they are young girls, they are supposed to go to the river to fetch water and then bring the water to their families, right? Now in their village, if you break your pot or if your water pours or you don't bring enough water, you're basically regarded as like shameless, like you're basically ashamed. Do you understand? So this particular young girl, she went to fetch water, and on her way back, she tripped on a stone, she fell, and her pot broke, right? And the unexpected thing happened. She never returned home. Her parents were looking for her everywhere. They were looking for her. They didn't find her. They decided to check the route to where they go to fetch water, because that was where they knew she went last. And they saw her body hanging on a tree. She had committed suicide. We went to the village, this particular village in Africa. I went to visit the parents of this girl, and yeah, they confirmed the story was true. They shared their experience so far, and they said lots of things about their village. That they don't have water there, they don't have clean water, they don't have access to clean water. Water is a luxury for them, right? So he took that story, he documented it, and he put it out there in the public. Now that story was what got people to donate, and was able to raise billions of dollars to be able to give water to lots of other villages, even apart from that particular village. We are using the elements of a story to create a sales pitch. Now, remember that example I gave of Steve Jobs, how he said, gave the hook and everything. That is using element of story in a sales pitch, right? The other guy with the charity, used an actual story to compel people to drop their money for a good cause, right? Now, the other example that I'm going to give is the one that I experienced, which is the story of your product actually doing a particular thing, that will push people to actually drop their money to experience that thing by themselves. It actually started from when I started my fashion brand. I really wanted to know how fashion collections are produced, and I figured that out, and I realized that I needed to know how to design with Adobe Illustrator. I needed to know how to create a tech pack if I want to actually be serious about this thing, right? So I did learn them. I learned them by myself. And then I just started, let me just talk to my mentor, someone that has gone ahead in the fashion industry. I just wanted to talk to her, ask her some questions, things like that. And then she asked me if I knew how to use Adobe Illustrator to design, tech packs to design and stuff like that. She was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I do. Like, I've been doing it for quite a while now. I showed her my work and everything. She's like, wow, like you've actually doing a good job. Like, you're actually good at this. And then she was like, why don't I just create a course that will teach people how to use? Because she actually needed it, apparently. So she said, you know what? You already know how to do it. Do a course and teach me. So I said, okay, I will do a course, a digital course that would help her. Because she also told me her story of how she paid $800 to learn this, and then she didn't understand anything. Like, it was not even clear to her. She paid in Australia. Like, she paid a school in Australia $800, and like it didn't work out for her. So like I just said, okay, you know what, let me just pour the knowledge I have in one course, okay, and see how that works. She paid for it and she started doing the course, right? And after a while, I'll get messages from her, get DMs from her that, oh, she's learning a lot, she has been to do this, she has been to do that. She'll send me pictures of her work. I'm going to put stuff about her work on the screen and everything so you guys can see. And then 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I woke up in the morning. Like, it was very early in the morning. I woke up around 4 a.m., 5 a.m. time. And I saw a notification on my phone that I made a sale. That's because like I hosted the course on seller.co. I don't use them anymore because of like some issues, but that was where the course was. And just so I made another sale, I was like, how, from where? So I now messaged her now. I was like, I made a sale. She's like, yeah, that she told her students about, she basically told them about her story and how my course has been able to provide a solution for her, and that was able to generate a sale from me. Okay, so that's another example of how stories can compel people to do things. So that's the 3 instances of storytelling. I'm going to link videos in the description on storytelling, the ones that I watched, that helped me to understand a lot about storytelling. And I'm also going to put in the description some key elements and key things that need to be in your sales pitch in business, because obviously we're using story to sell ourselves in business. So elements that would help you in your sales pitch. So each of these elements should be in your pitch. So that being said, that's the end of this video. I hope it was helpful, I hope it was nice, I hope you learned a lot. If you did, share this video to your friends and subscribe. Thank you for subscribing. I know you have. Like, just hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video.